The title of story: A Chance Encounter That Changed Everything. Enjoying the content? Hit subscribe to stay updated and never miss a video. The morning unfolded like any other, the hum of daily struggles filling the air like an unshakable presence. Daniel Harper, a man worn down by months of uncertainty, had long grown accustomed to the weight of hardship pressing against his shoulders. Bills stacked high on the kitchen counter, his aging pickup truck groaned in protest each time he turned the key, and his savings had dwindled to nothing. Yet he pressed on, for his son, 8-year-old Liam, who deserved more than a father drowning in financial ruin. The boy's voice rang out from the kitchen, cutting through the silence. "Dad, we're out of cereal again," Liam announced, holding up the empty box, as though presenting damning evidence of a crime. Daniel ran a weary hand through his unkempt brown hair, exhaling heavily. He had already done the mental math before stepping foot in the grocery store that morning. What little money remained in his pocket had to stretch farther than seemed possible. "All right, buddy," he said, forcing a smile. "I'll grab some groceries after I drop you off at school. But for today, it's toast, okay?" Liam scrunched up his face, but he didn't argue. He understood too much for his age, accepted too much without complaint. And that, more than anything, weighed on Daniel's heart. By the time he pulled into the grocery store parking lot, the morning rush had died down, leaving only a handful of early shoppers roaming the aisles. Every item he placed in his cart was deliberate: bread, milk, eggs, the essentials. He avoided the more expensive shelves, resisting the impulse to reach for things he knew Liam would enjoy, but that were simply out of reach. As he stepped back outside, plastic bags in hand, something caught his eye. A little girl, no older than 6, sat alone on the curb near the entrance. Her blonde pigtails swayed as she buried her face in her hands, her small frame trembling with quiet sobs. Daniel hesitated. He had enough of his own problems. The last thing he needed was to involve himself in someone else's mess. His truck was right there. He could get in, drive away, forget about her. But something deep inside stopped him. What if it were Liam? With a quiet sigh, he set down his groceries and made his way toward her. "Hey there, sweetheart," he said gently, crouching to her level. "Are you okay? Are you lost?" The girl sniffled and lifted her tear-streaked face, wide eyes full of panic. I can't find my mommy," she stammered. Daniel's chest tightened. He had seen that look before, the raw fear of a child adrift, the quiet plea for someone to help make things right again. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Emma," she whispered. "All right, Emma," he said, his voice calm and steady. "Do you know your mom's phone number or where she might be?" Wordlessly, she reached into her backpack and produced a crumpled piece of paper. Daniel unfolded it carefully, his eyes scanning the numbers, hastily scrawled in pen. He pulled out his old flip phone and dialed. Voicemail. He tried again. Still nothing. A pit formed in his stomach, but he kept his voice steady. "Okay," he reassured her. "Let's get you home. I'll drive you there, and we'll find your mom together. Sound good?" Emma nodded, her small fingers wiping at the last of her tears. Daniel lifted her into the passenger seat, ensuring she was buckled in before pulling out of the lot. The drive was quiet at first, but as the truck rumbled down the road, she turned to him, her voice soft. "You're nice." Daniel glanced at her, offering a tired smile. "Well, you're pretty brave for a kid. You're going to be just fine, okay?" Minutes later, they arrived at a modest home in a quiet neighborhood. Before Daniel could even step out of the truck, the front door swung open, and a woman burst out onto the porch. "Emma!" The girl leapt from the seat, running straight into her mother's arms. "Mommy!" Daniel watched as relief washed over the woman's face, her hands cradling her daughter as if afraid she might disappear again. When she finally looked up, her eyes locked onto his, brimming with gratitude. "Thank you," she breathed, voice trembling. "I was frantic. I didn't even realize she wasn't with me until I got home. I was about to call the police." Daniel simply shook his head. "I'm just glad she's safe." The woman introduced herself as Rachel Bennett and explained how Emma must have wandered off while she was loading groceries into the car. "I don't know how I missed her," she admitted, tears still fresh in her eyes. I can't thank you enough. Rachel offered a reward, but Daniel refused. I didn't do it for that, he said simply. At the very least, she insisted on getting his name. Daniel Harper, he told her. Rachel smiled warmly. Thank you, Daniel. You're a good man. As he drove away, something unfamiliar settled in his chest. Pride. It had been a long time since he had felt it, but for once he knew he had done something right. Later that day, as he picked Liam up from school, his son immediately noticed the shift in his mood. You look happy, Dad, Liam remarked with a grin. Daniel chuckled. Yeah, I guess I am. Did you get cereal? Liam pressed, eyeing the grocery bags in the back seat. Daniel laughed. Yeah, I got cereal. It wasn't much, but for the first time in a long while, it felt like things might finally be looking up. The next morning, as Daniel went about his routine, sipping weak coffee while Liam slept soundly, his mind was already busy strategizing. How could he stretch the last bit of cash in his wallet? Maybe another yard cleanup, maybe patching a fence. Survival had become his way of life. Then the unexpected happened. As he pulled into his driveway, a sleek black car, polished, pristine, entirely out of place in his neighborhood, came to a slow stop in front of his house. Daniel hesitated, gripping the steering wheel. What in the world? The car door opened and a well-dressed man stepped out. He looked to be in his late 40s, his suit crisp, his demeanor one of quiet authority. Mr. Harper, the man asked, extending a hand. Daniel blinked, hesitating before shaking it. Yeah, that's me. I'm James Bennett, the man introduced himself. My wife Rachel told me what you did for our daughter Emma yesterday. I wanted to stop by and thank you personally. Daniel shifted uneasily. Really, it was no big deal. I just wanted to make sure she got home safe. James chuckled. You went out of your way to help a lost little girl, a complete stranger. That's more than most people would do. At that moment, the passenger door of the luxury car opened, and Rachel stepped out. Emma was at her side, clutching her mother's hand, her small face peeking out shyly. Rachel held out a small bouquet of flowers. Daniel, I know you said you didn't want a reward, but we couldn't let your kindness go unacknowledged. As Daniel accepted the flowers, feeling slightly embarrassed but grateful, James continued. There's more, he said. If you have a moment, I'd like to talk to you about something. Daniel hesitated, unsure where this was going, but something told him that whatever came next was about to change everything. And for the first time in a long time, Daniel Harper felt something he had forgotten how to feel. Hope.